Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome back to Devil's Advocate, brought to you by the Weekly Armchair. I think I've frozen a little bit there, but it's all good. I hope you're all well. Good to be back. It's been a couple of weeks. Obviously, you saw your man Jamie the other night on Tuesday last week. What a fabulous show that was! And in case you missed it, he had a great show with Keane. Interviewing Jonathan Schrager, and it was a really, really good show. So excellent stuff. A lot of you on Twitter, a few of you in the comments, get your comments in, get your questions in. We're going to be talking about Ronaldo tonight. I'm going to try and steer clear on whether the jury's still out on whether we want him in our team. Obviously, lots of discussions over the last few weeks. Good to see you, Stu.
Thank you.
I hope you're well, mate. It's been a couple of weeks. Jamie, just wanted to see how you were, buddy. You good?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. I'm wondering, Stu, are you sat in like the bathroom of an Indian restaurant or something?
No, I've moved into another area of the house, which was an old playroom for the kids. You know, when the girls are growing up, and I haven't had a chance to decorate it, but I just needed a bit of space, a bit bigger space from the office because I work from home. So it's
And now it's Stu's playroom.
It's now Stu's playroom, which is likely to go grey over the next couple of weeks if I can be bothered to paint it. It's not quite there, but hey, James, I caught your show by the way yesterday, mate. Brilliant.
Oh, thank you very much.
Really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. So
he was the most humble man with 100,000 followers I've ever spoke to.
Yeah,
he was really down to earth. It was a really good chat. But no, I appreciate that. So yeah, shameless plug. If you haven't watched it already, go and watch it.
Always a shameless plug.
Absolutely. No, we appreciate that, Stu. It was a fabulous show. I did mention that earlier. So yeah, guys, if you haven't seen that this morning, please go and have a look at that. Really, really great show. No Return. Love that little name. But Evening Reds, first timer here. Great to have you over here. Get your comments in. We're going to be talking about Ronaldo. As I said, I want to steer clear of whether on talking about whether we want him in the side. I think the jury's very much out with that at the moment. But we'll talk about obviously the goings on today. A few tweets that I've read today that we'll discuss as well. Ellis, great to have you back, buddy. It's been a long time, my man. I hope you're well. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm not bad. It's been quite a while. Finished school, completed my GCSEs, and I've now got the remainder of the 6-week holidays. But it's been more like 9 weeks, so I've just been finding what to do and just trying to get through the summer really. But thanks for having me back on. Really looking forward to it.
You're more than welcome, and congratulations. And you've made me feel very, very old right now. So thank you very much for that.
Don't any drop of 18, any short of 18. You.
There you go. Oh, thanks, buddy. I'll give you that tenner later. Listen. Get your comments in. We want to know your thoughts. Big day today. Obviously, everybody returned from Australia. First training session in the UK at Carrington for a little while. Obviously, lots of big faces turning up today. I think a lot of journalists have probably jumped on that for various reasons. Jamie, talk to me. How do you think today went? And do you have any ulterior ideas, or do you think it's just the fact that everyone's going back to work first day at the office?
I think it's probably a little bit of both in it. Is that if there is any sort of talk of crunch talks between Mendes, Ronaldo, and the club, they're going to try and hide it by going, oh look, but it's also the day that everyone else comes back. I don't think it's a coincidence that today's the day we decided to announce Eriksen either. So there's obviously a lot of working parts of the club to try and mask whatever it is that's going on behind the scenes. My biggest thing about it, and I've spoken about this on streams before, I said it last night, is that whatever's going on, it needs to be done quickly, because you'd think that with Pogba leaving, the media circus that surrounds him every summer, the will he stay, will he go, etc., you'd think that we would have got rid of that, but it looks as if we're now going to drum up something with Ronaldo. And anything that's going to potentially hamper or impact Erik ten Hag's first season and potentially, put a negative spin on that needs to be dealt with very quickly and quietly by the club. This idea that we're rolling Fergie out, whether, I've seen some things on Twitter being like, oh, he was there for a board meeting, but it's like, I don't think he was really, was he? it's the perfect storm for media. We know that we get clicks as soon as somebody mentions United's name. Journalists, broadcasters, any sort of news outlet will be looking for anything that they can whack our name to, and this is the perfect thing for them. So whatever happens, get it done quickly, get it done quietly, and make sure that all parties involved come off well.
Yeah, very well said there, Jamie. You mentioned about Sir Alex Ferguson. I've seen lots of tweets today about why he was there. My personal feeling is that it's the first day back. Every season you see Ferguson go on the first day. You see Brian Robson. You see John Murto. Well, you will do, obviously, now from this season onward. And I think that a lot of people have just jumped on the bandwagon. Ellis, what are your thoughts on that with Sir Alex? Do you think he was there for any other reason?
Not really. I just think, obviously, Sir Alex Ferguson being such a prominent figure in United's history, and obviously having a good relationship with Ronaldo, I think it's a very quick and easy link for the media to make to just kind of add fuel to the fire, really. We obviously know about the speculation on his future. And with these just going, oh, well, look, Fergie's turned up to even try and keep him. It's just going to add to the hysteria, and obviously you're going to get rival fans bantering. It's to get clicks, it's to get views, it's to get likes, it's to just get their newspaper and their work, obviously, in the media eye, in the public domain, really. So I don't really think it's anything serious. I don't think he's turned up to be in a board meeting there with his son, like, no, you need to stay. Like, I just think he's just gone because it's the first day back, everyone's back, and it's new times for Man United.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. Very good points there. I saw a tweet today, Stu. I hate that United keep using Sir Alex Ferguson like a police negotiator to talk down Ronaldo. The guy who famously said no one's bigger than the club. What do you make of that?
It's a sad state of affairs, actually, all around. I mean, most fans who remember Ronaldo the first time around were absolutely delighted that he was coming back. Younger fans who adore Ronaldo were ecstatic and elated he was coming back. Yeah, exactly. And we find ourselves in this situation after 12 months of him being at the club, and whatever happens moving forward, I'm not really sure Ronaldo will paint himself in the same light or be seen in the same light as these young fans would have expected, really. And it's a real shame. I think Sir Alex is a difficult one. He really is a difficult one, because no manager apart from Sir Matt has had the same type of effect on any football club, let alone Manchester United. It will always divide fans as to whether or not he should be involved with the club, and how much he should be involved with the club, and should he walk away or should he stay. And it's the same with David Gill, because they gave the club and the fans the most amazing period in the history of Manchester United post Sir Matt. So I think it's very, very difficult as an older fan, as a legacy fan, as I'm now told I am. I can see the affiliation still. But when you kind of put your head on it and you really think about it logically, it's time to move away. Because somebody like Erik ten Hag, he needs this clean slate. He needs to be able to deal with Ronaldo his way, and not the way that Sir Alex and David Gill would have dealt with Ronaldo. Ten Hag has to do it his way. Murto has got to deal with it his way, because if you allow Mendes to dictate, if you allow Ronaldo to dictate, if you allow Sir Alex and David Gill to get involved, it really does undermine you. Even if outside eyes don't think it really does undermine you. So the stance, if it's right, that you're staying tough, I like, because sooner or later a club has got to turn around to a player and say, tough, you're staying, you're under contract, you can kick up as much fuss as you like, you're staying here. And I quite like that if it is true that the board are taking this stance. How the fans will react, I don't know. Jamie and Ellis have both made good points about the rhetoric and hysteria that the press put on Cristiano Ronaldo, let alone Sir Alex and Cristiano Ronaldo, It's ridiculous. It really is. It's for clicks. It's for likes. But as a club, if you're paying somebody 450, is it 450, 480,000 a week, lads? I mean, I can't.
375, isn't it? I thought, give or take, anyway, around that.
Either way, it's a phenomenal amount of money. Then you really should be in the driving seat rather than Ronaldo. And just one other point, and I'm sorry I've dragged on, fellas, and you guys come in. I'm not so sure anybody out there wants him anyway. Because surely if a player like Cristiano Ronaldo comes onto the market and says, hey, look, I'm ready to move. If there's clubs wanting him, it would have been done by now. Or I mean, I'd love your thoughts on that, lads.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, and this comment that Mark just put up there is bang on, I think. A lot of that squad that we've got at the minute haven't really experienced winning major silverware, especially not consistent major silverware. So for Ronaldo and his brand, in his head, he thinks, I've always been successful. He's, I don't think since he joined United, he's ever had a season without Champions League football. And obviously joining United the first time. And that'll be playing in the back of his mind. So I can completely agree with this comment here from Mo Return that he, as much as we like to paint this picture of, the prodigal son returning to the club and it's his boyhood dream, we all know that realistically that's nonsense in the world of football. I think his boyhood club was Real Madrid. We all knew that his dream move was not joining United in 2003. It was going to Real Madrid. And coming back was probably because he wanted to leave Juventus and we were happy to pay the money. It was more to do with that than it was any sort of romantic return. So he'll be sat there now thinking, do I think that this squad has a good chance of winning the Premier League this season? Probably not. Do I think they have a good chance of competing for other silverware? Potentially. Is it the silverware I want to win? I don't think he's very interested in winning the Europa League or in winning the League Cup. I think for him, he wants league titles and he wants another run in the Champions League. He's 37, 38. He'll probably know that he's got a few years left at the top of his game because obviously, regardless of what anyone says, he's an incredible athlete. So for him, it's all about Cristiano Ronaldo. It's all about where can he go and play the best brand of football? Where can he go and put himself on the world stage as he always has done? And does he want to take a season where it potentially waters down that perfect record that he has? I think that for somebody with an ego as big as he's got because of what he's won and what he's done, it's going to be a huge thing. And just to go back to that point that was made there in the comments, the rest of the squad will care more about the harmony of the squad. They'll care more about the football that they play together, improving on last season, and hopefully getting their first taste of a real run at good silverware. Because if we got what have we won in that squad? De Gea's won a Premier League. I mean, obviously, so is Phil Jones. There's a couple of Europa League winners still knocking around, a League Cup or a League Cup and an FA Cup scattered.
Scattered.
As a team, they've won the Bangkok Century Challenge Cup.
Get in.
Put your Bangkok Century Cup medals on the table. Is what I say.
Do you know something, Jamie? You're absolutely right, and you make a brilliant point. Here's the thing, though, and may I play devil's advocate here, but there's only a finite amount of clubs that can win the Champions League. Okay, so maybe 4 clubs that could really win the Champions League. None of those are in for him. So does he go to Napoli? They're in the Champions League, aren't they? Does he go somewhere like Napoli? I'm not so sure Athletic Madrid is the place for him to end up, really. But if he goes to Napoli, his chances of winning the Champions League anyway are remote, aren't they? Unless you go to maybe in Real Madrid, Liverpool, maybe City, PSG, maybe. I don't know. Would be interested and maybe Bayern. Outside of those 5 clubs, who else is really in with a shout? Do you agree? Or
no? Yeah,
I totally agree. I think you've all made some very good points. Actually, I think this whole motion about Ronaldo wanting to leave as soon as we didn't get the Europa League, that happened in April, and I feel that feelers would have been put out from that very point. Yeah. Now, the fact that nothing has materialised would suggest that he's not wanted. Bayern have been very explicit about that.
Yeah.
PSG, I think Neymar made some comments today about loving to play for Ronaldo. They're really the only team that could do it. Probably pay his wages. Obviously, get Messi and Ronaldo on the same side, and that's not happened.
Not going good, is it?
So just coming on to in the last hour, Atletico Madrid's president, obviously he's been highly linked with them, and Ellis, I come to you about this, buddy. He's the president of Atletico Madrid is on Cristiano Ronaldo rumours. I don't know who invented this story about Cristiano Ronaldo to Atletico Madrid. It's definitely not true, and I did read earlier that he went on to say it's just not possible with his wages, etc. So what do you make about that, and what does it mean for Ronaldo? Is it going to be that he's going to stick with United?
I don't really think he's got any other options other than to stay at United. Bayern Munich, Oliver Kahn's come out and said he doesn't want him. Atletico Madrid don't have the funds to be able to pay his wages. Tuchel's come out against the move. No one, it's going to sound mental to a load of different football fans, but no one wants Cristiano Ronaldo. Whether that's because of the way that he plays or the way that he is now, no one wants him, and no one will break the bank and ruin their philosophy and ruin their long-term project for a season just to have Ronaldo on the books. So because obviously we signed him last year, we kind of rushed into it. We've now got a decision. Do we let him go completely? And he's going to have to find a club. You mentioned Napoli there, Stu. That might be an option, but it's a bit of a weird one, isn't it, seeing Ronaldo go to Napoli? Yeah. Is he realistically going to want to stay at Napoli? They're not exactly challenging for the Serie A. AC Milan won it last year. I think they've only just scraped the top 3. So where does he actually think he's going to go? Because Bayern don't want him. And he's saying, you mentioned there about him wanting to win Champions League. Stu, you said there's only a select teams that are going to win the Champions League, and them select teams don't want him. So his whole process of he wants to challenge for top trophies. But what happens when you've not got the facilities and the players next to you to win them top trophies? Because realistically, he's got no option.
Do you think his attitude, Ellis? Do you think it's his attitude that people are looking at, or his age?
I don't know. I think it's a bit of both. We all know Ronaldo's got a massive ego with the brand that he's got. When you sign Ronaldo, you don't just sign the player. You sign the brand, you sign Nike, you sign everyone that's involved in his entourage. And obviously they're going to have something to say about it because Cristiano Ronaldo's been at the pinnacle of world football for as long as I can remember. And for him now to be playing Europa League football, that tarnishes his brand. That tarnishes his Nike contract.
Of course, because you've only just finished your GCSEs.
Yeah. So he's always been there, and for him, it's not good for the Champions League either because Ronaldo is Champions League worthy, he's Champions League level, and it's not going to be the same. So he has to then find somewhere else. And in regards to attitude, there's obviously been all the rumours around him having bust ups with Maguire and stuff, but this whole like hysteria that's been created does leave you wondering, was that actually true? Because the fan base was very, very quick to turn on Harry Maguire and make Harry Maguire out to be the villain and the bad guy due to their allegiances and romance with Cristiano Ronaldo. But now fans have to take this with a pinch of salt and think, was Maguire actually the problem? Was it Ronaldo? Because the way Ronaldo's acted, he's put us in a bit of a poor situation because Cristiano Ronaldo knew in May, April that we weren't going to get the top 4. And we missed out, obviously. Well, we didn't miss out. Darwin Núñez went to Liverpool. Darwin Noodles. He can't score. But anyway, that's a completely different argument. And that was a long-term 9 available for Man United that we could have signed. And that was one of the priorities. But we were banking on Ronaldo to stay. And then he's come and dropped this bombshell out. Who are we actually going to sign as a 9? So he's put us in a poor situation. So I would blame it on a bit of both his attitude and obviously his age as well, because he's not a structured member of a long-term project. Sorry for going on a bit of a tangent.
No. It was wonderfully said. Yeah, really interesting. And there's a couple of points on that, I think. Lots of points I want to talk about, actually. Mendes, and I don't know how true this is, but he came out the other day and said Ronaldo is a brand now. And obviously he wants Champions League football. The Champions League need him. That is... Yeah, go on.
Again, correct me if I'm wrong. Would he be, if he had the clean sweep of Europa League as well? Would he be one of very few players that had won the lot? Because he would have absolutely won the lot, wouldn't he? Apart from obviously the World Cup.
Yeah, I can't be sure of that, to be honest with you, but I can't imagine there's many players that
knew, but there can't be many.
World Cup. Nah, other than the World Cup, I think that'd probably be one of the only trophies he hadn't got, and that would be interesting to know. If anyone knows that in the comments, please let us know.
Surely Juan Mata won't be far off.
Juan Mata won the World Cup,
That's
didn't
true.
he?
And
and the
European.
Euros.
He won the Euros.
He's won a Europa League. I'm sure he won the Champions League with Chelsea.
He did. Yeah.
League.
So in that case, he's probably the only one then.
Yeah.
Juan Mata. What a lovely guy and very illustrious career.
One other point as well, though, and again, Ellis was right, but why wouldn't you want to relight that fire under Manchester United? The legacy you have with it. Why wouldn't you want to be a part of trying to relight that fire? Why's your ego got to be so?
It's because it is his ego, isn't it? That's the thing.
Yeah.
He's had the world at his feet for what? Best part of 2 decades. Do you know what I mean? Like he's highest ceiling of 99.9% of footballers in the world. There's a handful of footballers that have ever existed that can say that they sat at the same table as him when it came to talent and ability. His runs in the Ballon d'Or. He has won pretty much everything that a footballer can win, and he probably thinks to himself now, he's come back to a club, 13 years after leaving, 12, 13 years after leaving us. He's seen a completely different club to the one that he left, and it's almost like if you spent a really good portion of your work life working for a business that you loved working at, you're a really good business, and then you disappeared to another company, and then your old company asked you to come back, and you walked in, and the old manager's gone, and the building's on fire. No one's getting any job satisfaction. You probably would turn around and go, "Oh, I'm not actually enjoying this. Shit, can my old job have me back, please?" And they've gone, "I'm really sorry, no." So I think that there's probably a couple of different things at play here, but for me, he's probably at a point now where he thinks that he is bigger than modern day Manchester United. Now, football, we've said this a million times before. Football is a very secular thing. The good times come and go, and hopefully at the minute we're on the right tracks to get back into the upward trajectory. If that doesn't suit Ronaldo's ego and Ronaldo's plans for himself, then so be it. But you can't hold a club like us to hostage, unfortunately. We existed before you, will exist after you. And I said this last night, and I said it a few times, it is okay to completely separate the two different Ronaldos that we've experienced. You can have the teenager that used to light up Old Trafford all the time and remember him as a club legend, because he was. The one that came back for 12 months, potentially. It's okay if you don't feel a loyalty towards him and think, you can go, you're no less of a fan. You don't need people to turn around and go, "Oh, he's one of the greatest players to ever play for Manchester United," because one, that's not true, and two, this is not that version of Cristiano Ronaldo. So for me, it was an Ed Woodward signing. I still would question whether Ole Gunnar Solskjaer even wanted him. Ed Woodward's gone now. So it was Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. So if Ten Hag wants him and he wants to stay and commit, then happy days. If Ten Hag doesn't want him and he doesn't want to commit, happy days. Let him go. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, great points, well made. Stu, you made a comment earlier, really good comment actually, about whether United playing hardball. This is something that we haven't always done, have been criticised for. But then on the flip side, we've been giving players contracts to try and tie them up in order to make some sort of money. But do you think this time it's worth playing hardball? And just in the last hour or so, apparently Jorge Mendes has asked Man United to renew, and I think we saw this over the last couple of days, his contract and loan him out for the season. Do you think that's also a wise move?
So me and Jamie were on a show a while ago, 6 months ago, 7 months ago. I think you may have been a part of that one particular show. And Jamie just made a point about modern day football being an absolute cesspit. I think those were your words, pal. And he was right. When you look at modern day football, it is quite sickening. As much as everybody loves stepping inside Old Trafford or any football ground in the world, everybody gets absolutely, immersed in what somebody can do with a football. It's great. And then you look at the real dark side of it and the real slime side of it, which is the money, the agents, the sponsorships, etc., etc., etc. And there comes a time when a club has got to turn around and say, tough. It has to do it because it has to control its own integrity. let alone anything else. And it's got to turn around and say, Cristiano, you may be, as the lads have pointed out, the biggest draw in world football. The Champions League anthem might cry because you're not in it anymore, but there's always going to be a time where you've got to say, I'm not going to play Champions League football. I am going to have to hang my boots up in 2 years' time. Do I want to emulate Ryan Giggs and play till I'm 40, but at a better level than what Ryan Giggs has done? Do I go to another team and am I a certain starter? So sometimes a club has got to turn around and say, we've given you this lifeline. I think the lads are both right. We were perhaps the only club that would really have him, and he's chosen us again because of the commercial side of it. And he's got to turn, United have got to turn around and say, sorry, tough. And that sends a huge message out to anybody else, not only in our squad, but players that are coming to us. You can't run roughshod over Manchester United anymore, because Ed Woodward was a banker and he didn't understand football. It never would. And I hate what I'm about to say, and I'm sorry because it winds me up more than anything. But it wouldn't have happened in Fergie's days and before that, because hard line way of doing stuff is the only way sometimes. What I think about Monday footballers are a bunch of posers, namby-pamby, wet blankets, waste of time, who will roll around at the slightest knock. Tuck in your skirt, get on with it. If you're going to go home every night crying on your Bentley, tough. I expect you here tomorrow, whatever time we're training, and get ready, because that's what I want from you. No, I'm not selling you. And as for the loan bit, by the way, no. If you're gonna extend somebody's contract and you loan him out for a year with the hope that we get Champions League football and he comes back like the Messiah, no.
What was it? Was it Marilyn Monroe that said, "If you can't handle me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best"?
Yes, she did.
But also,
Jamie says this all the time.
I love quoting Marilyn Monroe. I usually wear that little white dress over the air vent as well.
Just very quickly before you come in there, Jamie, this comment by Mike, stick with this, buddy, because I was going to come to this in a moment. My next question was going to be about, regardless of whether he goes or not, and we retain him or not, should we still go for someone else? And Anthony, obviously, the big news come out in the last few days, and we'll talk about that shortly. Sorry, Jamie, carry on.
That's right. But my point I was just going to add there is that one of the biggest points that people seem to keep missing is that he was part of the squad that didn't qualify for the Champions League. Like, he was part of that team. You win together, you lose together, you draw together, all of that stuff. Do you know what I mean? And at the end of the day, he was a very focal point in a poor Manchester United squad last year that failed to qualify for the Champions League in either route. Do you know what I mean? We didn't have the best run in the Champions League, like playing it, and obviously our league form was poor. So part of you has to sort of look in the mirror and go, I'm also to blame. And then granted, I know there'll be people on here that might go, oh, but he scored loads of goals. He was our top goal scorer last season, etc., which is great. And he did. There were some performances he put in, like the Spurs performance. The game against Arsenal, yeah, we lost it, but he was our best player that day, best player on the pitch. And there was lots of moments that he was brilliant, but over the course of the season, he was part of the team that failed to qualify for the Champions League. You don't get to down tools and jump ship just because
he needs to take as much responsibility as everyone. You're absolutely right. He scored the goals, got some very important goals, but it's still a team game.
Exactly.
And he has to take responsibility. Just very quickly, Jamie, really sorry, buddy. No return. I just want to say, never apologise for the comments, bro. You've had some really, really class ones tonight. And contrary to your name, I hope you do return to us next time. But he says here, sorry for all the comments, but last point, if CR7 really cared about Man United, he would have had timed his announcements in this way. He wouldn't have would not have timed his announcements in this way. I feel he has really put this window into peril. Optics not good. Absolutely spot on there. Just a couple more comments. We're going to move on to something a little bit more. I'm going to talk about Anthony, as I said, and a couple more comments here. Cristiano Ronaldo was part of Man United's tour debrief on Tuesday, where Eric Ten Hag and his staff debrief for over an hour what had gone on during United's tour. So obviously they're playing firm there, which is good to see as well. No worries at all, buddy. Thank you very much for joining. Man United, citing confidentiality, would not comment on the nature of talks with Cristiano Ronaldo, but after the first day of negotiations, United have confirmed their position is unaltered and Ronaldo is not for sale. So, obviously, over the last few days, weeks, months, we have been linked for a little while. Jamie, come in first, bro. We'll come to that.
No, go on. It's all right. Don't worry about it.
All right, fair enough. So Anthony, United obviously very interested in him. Played under Eric Ten Hag. We all know that. A big player, very skillful. I don't know enough about him. He's obviously become part of everyone's radar recently. United, I did see today, and someone told me as well that United aren't willing to go above 65 million, but Ajax are holding out for at least 75. Now, regardless of whether we keep Ronaldo or not, does everybody, I'm going to come to you each individually very, very quickly with 30 seconds of your reasoning. Does everyone believe that we should go for another striker, regardless of Ronaldo stays or not? Jamie, you first.
Yes.
What'd you say?
Yes.
Yes. Any reason for that?
Oh, we're an Anthony Martial injury pretty much away from again. If he stays, he'll be our sole striker. If he doesn't stay, we won't have a recognised striker. I think you can't have City and Liverpool both go out and buy, Erling Haaland, who's one of the best strikers in the world, Darwin Núñez, who hasn't started great but has the potential, I suppose, to go on to hit those levels. You can't have them two buying some of the top draw talents in the centre forward market, and we don't buy anything. There's so many good value centre forwards out there at the minute that we could be looking at. Victor Osimhen, people like that. We should have been all over on Kunku. But yeah, absolutely, we should be going out for someone. Yeah,
good points well made. Ellis, are you in agreement?
Yeah, totally agree. I think regardless of the Ronaldo situation, we need more depth. Strength in depth is a good thing in this league. Obviously, with the World Cup, we need players and we need another attacker. It's just simple. We're so lacking going forward. Ronaldo does leave with Martial, and he's the backup striker. We haven't got one, so we do definitely need to go and sign a striker. Whether that's even if it's not a striker and it's another wide player, we definitely need another attacker.
Yeah. Just another point here by no return. There was some exclusive tweet. I did say this. I did see this earlier. David Kemp from the Mail on Anthony tonight. Unsure how solid it is as a source. I don't know either. Worth finding it. Apparently up to 100 million euros. Yeah, so I think this is the one that I did see earlier. I think they're holding out for 100 million euros. I think that equates to give or take about 85 million pounds. United are willing to only spend up to 70, I think it was, something like that. Stu, same question to you. Do we need another striker? Who do you think it should be? Perhaps, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, the lads are both correct. Look, Anthony's a wide player. I don't think he's a 9. Martial, if he gets injured, we're gonna struggle. How do you replace 20 goals? So that's the key element to this, because whether you play with Sancho, Martial, and Rashford, you need instinct. You've heard me talk about this before, Mark. You need instinct inside that box, and none of those give us that, and neither does Anthony. He doesn't give us that instinct that Ronaldo and Cavani, when he was on his game, gave us. So if you go for a striker, which we need strength and depth, you've got to find that one who's got the dynamism 9 yards out. Because anything outside of that, we need somebody 9 yards out that can put the ball in the back of the net, knows where the 6-yard line is, knows where to head the ball. That's what we need. We need instinct. So find your striker, but find instinct. You can't, it's a difficult task. So
the one thing I'll say, I agree with all of you. I think that regardless of CR7 staying or not, we need someone else. But one thing I will say is we absolutely have to get behind Eric Ten Hag, and more importantly, the club. And if he is after someone like Anthony, who he's worked with, he's signed Alessandro, who we'll talk about in a minute. We'll talk about some positivity, and Malacia, who he was very aware of. And who else have we signed? It's lost me now. Ericsson, and they're the only 3 at the minute, aren't they? So we have to back him, and ultimately, if he knows Anthony, I think that if he's after him, he feels that he's going to fit his philosophy, then I think that's the person that we go for. I think Jamie's absolutely spot on. There are a number of strikers we can go for at the moment, but if
Do you
that's
know what
someone
that
who
does?
wants,
Do you know what that might say, though, fellas? It
Go on.
might say that he puts Anthony out on the right, he puts Sancho on the left, and then he's going to alternate Martial and Rashford maybe through the middle. If Ronaldo's
which is going to be interesting, because I think obviously we've seen Rashford's best football obviously does come out from the left hand side, and it'll be interesting to see whether we can get a tune out of him as a centre forward. I think the interesting thing is what we know of Ten Hag and like the systems that he's played with. He does enjoy having sort of out and out number 9 in there.
Yeah, he likes a big one, doesn't he? Likes a Sebastian Haller. Yeah,
so look at how well he did with Haller. Like, the transformation that and fingers crossed Haller recovers. It's awful to do that. But so it's going to be interesting if we don't have a centre forward in that vein, whether we'll be able to execute the system that he wants us to as efficiently as he'd like.
Did anyone see the? I'm going to presume he did, but there was some RB Salzburg striker, is it Benjamin Sesko, that he was supposedly interested in. And I was thinking, they're not going to demand a fee. 55 million for a 19-year-old seems a bit steep to me. I don't know if anyone else has the same feeling.
I hadn't seen that actually. That's crazy.
I'm not sure.
Crazy figure.
Literally, he's a great player on Football Manager.
He's worth 25 million. Max. 55 million is ridiculous. The interesting thing about him is, and I don't know a huge amount about him, but I go back and ask the question: has he got the instinct 9 yards out of goal? Has he got the movement? Has he got the vision? Because that's what we need. I know people say about that, but if you go back to the Arsenal goal, Arsenal away, the Ronaldo goal, the way that he took it down and then managed to let all in one movement, replacing that is almost impossible. It really is that type of player. And you guys, Jamie makes a point as well about the City strengthening and Liverpool strengthening. They've gone for out and out 9s, haven't they? Well, Núñez, I know, tends to come in from wide, but Haaland in particular, it's just a bruiser, and out and out 9 is a bruiser. So are people changing the way they're likely to play it? I don't know.
Yeah, that seemed to be a common theme, didn't it? There wasn't really an out-and-out striker. They were willing to sort of play a bit of a fluid front three. So it is interesting that they both have done that, and really we need to be sort of competing and having one of our own too. So it's interesting to see over the next few weeks. I'm not even going to come to Frankie de Jong tonight. I'm sure everyone is absolutely fed up with him, or the situation at least. We will see, obviously, in the next few weeks what happens with that. But let's move to something a bit more positive before we wrap up. Get your comments in, guys. Important that you obviously like and subscribe. Really important to us, and we obviously appreciate you coming over to have your say. So Christian Eriksen, I haven't spoken to you, Stu, about it, nor Ellis. I think I might have had a quick conversation with you, Jamie, but how are we all feeling on that? Ellis, I'll come to you first, buddy.
Yeah, excited, to be fair. Christian Eriksen's a player that always excited me, even throughout his career. When he was at Tottenham, I thought he was fantastic, and I really wanted to sign him, and then we wanted to sign Bruno Fernandes. So I think he's going to be a good option. Potentially, he can make a killer pass. And you look at United's team last season, we were so lacking of someone that can grab the game by the scruff of the neck and make a killer pass. How many chances did we miss last season when we were just missing that one final pass and that finish, and we don't get it? And I think you get that in Eriksen. So I think it's going to be great to see how he links up with everyone. But yeah, I think, it's an astute signing. And for the first time in ages, you have to take your hat off to Manchester United's recruitment team, because that is a fantastic signing that they've just got for free. And it's the first time where Man United have acted like an actual football club. So I'm very excited for it, to be honest.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head there. And I think astute is a great word for it. I think it's a very astute signing. Absolutely well summed up there, buddy. Jamie, over to you.
Yeah, he's one of those that we were linked with when he was at Ajax the first time. And obviously he ended up going to Tottenham, absolute baller. I think he's been one of the most underrated players in the Premier League in the entire time that he's spent here. He's always sort of been in the shadow of some of the other playmakers that knock around in the league. And if it wasn't for the likes of people like Mata being there at the time, obviously Fabregas came in as well back to Chelsea, and then De Bruyne, I think there'd be real talks of him being the best playmaker in the league. I'm very excited, and without getting too soppy or anything like that, I think it's such a great story from where he was last summer to what he's come back and done.
Fantastic.
Yeah, the impact he had on Brentford was remarkable, and then for him to come and join us is brilliant. I think it's something that we potentially lacked in the past. Making these astute signings, I think that, again, that's the perfect word that Ellis has used there for that. It's clever. We got it swept up quite. I know there was obviously a bit of a will it happen, will it won't it happen, but it seemed to get done quite relatively easily. There wasn't much noise around it. I know there was a bit of time when it was like, oh, is it between Brentford and United? And you had Jose Enrique on Twitter being like, oh, Eriksen's rejected United. It's like, looks like a bit of a knob, even more of a knob than he previously did. Yeah, so
he's a has-been that I couldn't give a fuck about. So, but there you go. Stu, in agreement?
Oh, phenomenal! Get me words out. Signing for us. Look, if you're
excited,
if you're Harry Maguire, you're Bruno Fernandes, you're Cristiano Ronaldo, you'll be licking your lips because Maguire's got an outlet for the first time in years. They'll be able to actually deliver the ball to, and somebody can deal with it. He can progress it, he can hold it, he can move it slowly or quickly. If you're Cristiano Ronaldo and you've made that darting run, Eriksen's going to find you, and your goal output is going to increase by another 7, 8, maybe 9 goals on what you would have got on a really poor Manchester United team. And if you're Bruno Fernandes, wow, your weight is lifted right off your shoulders because you're not the only one that's there to create. Okay, so there's 3 players immediately that will really benefit from having Eriksen in the side. I think it's a better deal than Frankie de Jong, quite frankly. I really do. Now, Eriksen for us, he will have that presence. When somebody like Christian Eriksen walks into a dressing room, you're like, wow, I feel better. I feel happier. I feel more comfortable. I haven't got to hide on the pitch anymore, like Scott McTominay. If it comes off Fred's knee, Eriksen's going to be there to have it. He is the type of the type of signing that you need. Just think back to Brentford, Man United last season. Juan Mata, Christian Eriksen. They were by far the best players on the pitch.
Yeah.
Juan Mata, who's hardly played any football, but once you've got class in your veins, you ooze it, and it doesn't matter what you do. So when Christian Eriksen crosses that white line at Old Trafford, if he starts against Brighton are on the back foot immediately, and that hasn't happened at Old Trafford for such a long time. Forget Frankie de Jong. If he comes, he comes. If he doesn't, he doesn't. Christian Eriksen, top signing.
Yeah, I listen. It's very easy for us to get carried away. And as United fans, we go through this rigmarole every summer, and we do get carried away.
Winning a lot,
and I understand that.
Even in the lot.
Well, look what happened. Look what happened when Eriksen took the field for Brentford. Just think about their run prior to Eriksen and their run after Eriksen. Yeah. He's quality. He's mint. He
is. I think he does bring he's a massive string to United's bow in many ways. He is a very different number 8, number 10 to Bruno and Donny van der Beek, and it just gives United a little bit more dynamism. If we need to change the game up, if we need to break teams down deep, I think he holds the ball brilliantly as well. Yeah, I don't disagree. Yeah. And I think everybody will be surprised just how much he will play next season. I think he's going to get a lot of minutes. And I think he's very much an Erik ten Hag signing. And as No Return quite rightly said in the comments, he brings that intelligence. And that's something we've lacked massively within the squad, and I think it's a great signing. Just going to move on to Lysandro. Now, I have to be honest, I am far more excited about this signing, not than Eriksen, but than Frankie or anyone else. I've been hugely excited about Lysandro Martinez. Obviously, Mexican, played under Erik ten Hag. left-footed centre-back, has played as defensive midfielder, but I am incredibly excited to see him join the team and play, and I think he's a very, very good signing that I'm very pleased with. Jamie, your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I think he's a great signing, regardless of his physical profile or whatever. You know, I mean, the media have picked up the fact that he's 5'9".
Of course they have.
It's irrelevant. You know, you look at Baresi. Baresi was how tall was he? He was quite small when he was like 5'10". Regardless of the best centre halves of all time. Granted, football might have come on a little bit. People are getting a bit taller, but people love to use the quote about Paolo Maldini about if I've made a challenge, I've already done something wrong. So there's more to a centre half than his physical presence and his physicality. If Erik ten Hag's looked at the work he's done with Martinez at Ajax and thought this is an intelligent, aggressive centre half that can disrupt the play, and from everything that I've seen of Martinez, that's where he performs quite well at reading the ball. He's good on his feet. So he could be quite a calming presence in that midfield. He seems to have quite a bit of a turn of pace in him as well. So I'm excited. At this point, after everything we've gone through, Erik ten Hag could be linked with anyone and could bring anyone in, and I'd say, trust the manager, back the manager, and trust the process. But I think that defence needed shoring up. It needed an acquisition or two. I've said over the last couple of years, whenever I've done appearances on these, I loved Pau Torres. The scouting system said Pau Torres was the one they wanted, but Erik ten Hag vetoed it and said no.
He was the man that we were going to get last summer before Varane became available, and it was pretty much done. So obviously Varane came, and then the rest is history, really. So it's a shame. I liked Pau Torres as well, but I think this is a great sign.
Ten Hag vetoed the scouting network's decision. And that, for me, is a sign of progress in a football club. If your manager's coming in and saying, look, you can have all the analytics you want on a player, I don't want that player and I want somebody else, you go and get me that player. And they did. And for me, you don't get the nickname the Butcher for no reason.
No, I love that nickname too. We'll have to see, obviously, how he integrates into the team. Try not to get on his back too much, but by all means, an aggressive player. Very good left footer, which we've needed at centre back. We said this years ago before we were looking at a quick one that was going to complement Harry Maguire. The terminology was we need a left-sided, left-footed centre back, and we finally got one. But on that, very quickly, Ellis obviously played defensive midfielder, something that we are in need of and have needed for years. Do you think we might see him as a central defensive midfielder, or do you think he's going to be centre back?
I think Erik ten Hag knows Lisandro Martinez better than anyone. He knows where he can play. He knows his strengths. So it's solely down to Erik ten Hag, really. I think I'd like to see him at centre half, but he could definitely play the 6. He's done it for Ajax. Ten Hag knows his playing style, knows the character more than anything, knows he's up to the task, and I'm sure he can. I want to pose a question to everyone. So obviously we've had doubts about Varane's injury record and everything this season, and we've seen Harry Maguire be more of the distributor, obviously bringing the ball out towards midfield. Lisandro Martinez has got some of the best passing records for a left centre half in the whole of Europe. Do you think he's going to pair him next to Maguire, or do you think Varane comes in? We all know about how much Varane's a Rolls Royce for centre back, but he's not a ball distributor. So do you think he's going to now give Harry Maguire the perfect partner to be able to then play out into midfield?
Lovely question.
Maguire.
First of all, we one second, Stu. We'll have to give him a hosting role. That was beautifully poised there, Stu. Go on.
A good question. You're absolutely right. I think he'll play centre half. I think he'll push Maguire to right centre half. And Jamie already covered this, and he didn't realise he covered it. But everyone was talking about Martinez's height. Well, you tell me, out of all our centre halves, who heads the ball the most? Harry Maguire. Nobody else. It's Maguire. It ain't Varane. It ain't Lindelof. It's Maguire. And that's what you're going to have. A good centre-half pairing. And by the way, it doesn't necessarily matter that he's left-footed because everybody says, you got to have a left-footed centre-half. Load of bollocks. It's how you pair and marry the two centre-halves that's critical to the way that you play. So you need Vidic and Ferdinand. Vidic the Rolls Royce, Ferdinand, it gets stuck in. Bruce and Pallister, exactly the same. Bruce was the hard man, break his nose. Pallister bring the ball out. It'll be exactly the same with Martinez. Maguire can play his natural game. And that's what you need. All you ever need. He suffered for a variety of reasons as Harry Maguire. playing the left side of centre half, De Gea behind him and Fred and McTominay in front of him. He's suffered. His game has suffered because he's having to constantly, all the time, readjust. So when the ball's in the air, and he's looking over his shoulder and De Gea is 20 yards away from him, panic sets in. What the hell am I going to do? If I backtrack, I'm going to miss the header. So I've got to go for the header. And if he misses the header for whatever reason, everyone's in trouble. The fullbacks don't cover because they're not quick enough to cover back, or they haven't got the brains to cover back because they're too far up. We don't have cover from the wide players. So everybody's gone in on Maguire. Ellis, you make a great point because they've gone in on Maguire all the time.
Yeah.
And you've noticed, obviously, by your question, that Maguire's not been able to play his natural game. You can imagine him on the right side of it and being able to bring the ball out with his right foot. He can then pick a much better pass than what he could do from playing from the left side, especially if he's having to use his left foot. So it's a great point that you make. So his heading ability alone, alongside if you want to worry about a 5'10" centre half, I mean, I wouldn't worry about it. They'll make the perfect partnership. I know people want Varane in. I get it. But Mark, Jamie, what did I say? I don't gloat much, do I? But what did I say back in the summer?
Yeah. All right.
I've said this for months. I have said on occasions I've been a bit fed up with Maguire. He has made mistakes, and I think he's been under a lot of pressure. However, I don't think he's going to be faded out of the team at all. I think he's the captain for a reason. I think Erik ten Hag has made him a captain. I don't believe this shit about phasing him out, having him as a club captain, but on the bench. It doesn't work like that. I honestly believe there's a very good player in Maguire. I think he's been very harshly treated, and people seem to forget, not last season, the season before, how he cut our goals conceded by almost half after we signed him.
I think for England, like he doesn't put a foot wrong in an England shirt. Do you know what I mean? And I'm as guilty as anyone really for being rash at times when I watch United playing and venting about Maguire and stuff like that. But there is no point where I've got to stoop to some of the lows that some people do get to. He is a frustrating player at times, but I think that's just as much to do with the system that we're playing in, and De Gea behind him not coming in and sweeping the line. Because the amount of times that we play with a high line, he gets caught in transition, and all of a sudden, because our keeper's static, there's this massive gulf at the back that we just get carved open. I'd like to see the stats of, it probably is available, of how many times we got cut up by a diagonal ball. Do you know what I mean? Just a little ball over the top into the space behind Maguire, because we played with two centre halves that love to step into midfield and play with the ball. It doesn't work unless you've got a good sweeper keeper and unless you've got rapid fullbacks who can predict.
Even Lindelof is similar as well. He likes to play out from the back and play the splitting ball as well. And we got too many of them.
Yeah, they're all the same. I've done some on that actually just recently about what you were just saying and about looking at Maguire and the centre halves through a goalkeeper's eyes. Because that's really key. Because what you said is key. And Mark will tell you, I talk about the space in behind the centre halves and the goalkeeper. So, I'm like a broken record.
I had you in mind today, actually. I had a massive argument with somebody about David De Gea. And I spoke about this briefly today. Go on, sorry.
And I don't do stats, as you guys know. Ellis, if you don't know me, I don't like stats. They mean nothing to me. It's what you do on the pitch I'm interested in. I don't care about stats. But this guy gave us a load of stats about how people necessarily see De Gea because he may have saved us or won us 10 points or something along those lines. But actually, in reality, he's cost us more points than we've actually won because of him being static. But no, look, I'm quite excited by Martinez as well because don't forget, he can play left back. As well. Yeah. He has played left back. I would like to see him at centre half. I take Billy's points. I don't see Varane and Maguire going forward. Really, could be wrong, but I don't see it.
Eric, Bailly, I think obviously we're Maguire, Varane, Martinez and Lindelof will be our 4. Big news coming out in the last couple of days that Bailly could be going to Roma for around 10 million as well, which I'm quite pleased with. I know we bought him for 30, but you think about his injury record, I'm just quite happy to listen. On his day, absolute wonderful defender, but also very rash and can also be the master of his own downfall. But would you be happy with 10 million, Jamie? And you think he's probably out the door?
Yeah, we spoke to Jonathan about this last night. Jonathan was talking about it. I'd be devastated to see him go. I absolutely love the man. We spoke quite extensively about how if you remove everything else, he's just a bit of a joy to watch most of the time. He brings a bit of fun to the pitch and he's quite exciting. But I think it was Phil Brown that said on one of the shows last week that he makes being a centre-half look so easy and so difficult at the same time. He's one of those that in a challenge where you think there's a 5% chance he's getting that ball, he will get that ball. But then there's one where it's a 99% chance that any decent centre-half could tackle him and all of a sudden he's on his back. Look, I think if he goes, I'd be happy for him to reunite with Mourinho. I think there'd be a certain level of irony in that his centre-half pairing would be Chris Smalling and Eric Bailly, two centre-halves that he wanted to replace during his tenure as Manchester United manager. I think Eric Bailly would love it out in Italy. And I think he'd form quite a good partnership over there. So he's one of those players that I don't think he's ever done anything wrong with United. He's respected us. He loves the club. You can tell that he enjoys being here. And I want whatever's best for him and for the club. So if he goes and we get a bit of cash, brilliant. If he stays, I really hope this is a season where we can get, more than 7 games out of him.
Yeah,
we're in the Euros final, by the way. I think the women are 4 up, aren't they?
I don't know if you heard my mum and dad shout, because obviously, like I say,
brilliant.
I didn't.
We were 4-0 up, I think.
I seen it at 1-0 before we came on, but
4-0.
Is it coming home, boys? Is it coming home?
I'll tell you what.
Who have we got in the final then?
It's one of France or Germany.
France or Germany.
It's likely to be Germany. That is Germany are really good outfit.
I tweeted this before, and you know what? Like, I really hope this run in the Women's Euros does a lot of good stuff for not just grassroots women's football, but the way that this country consumes it. Because it was after the quarter final the other day. Rather than interviewing the manager, like we'd get, if it was the men's team, they just cut straight to the news, and it's like, come on, you've got a team that's just qualified for a semi-final, and you can't even postpone the news by 5 minutes. So I do hope that it provides more of a platform for the women's game being broadcast.
Slowly and surely it's happening. You've seen how much it's grown within the last few years, and little things like that, Jamie, you're absolutely spot on. That needs to stop. But excellent news. Really, really pleased and proud for them, and I'll be certainly watching that.
This is a bit kind of what it is with the topic of women's football. I think it's so heavily disrespected. Like, one of my childhood best friends plays for United Women and plays in under 18s, was part of the cup winners. Didn't they win the cup and league double last season with the under 21s?
In the under 21s,
So one of my good mates plays for the under 21 side at United, and she's the best player I've ever played with at grassroots level. Made mockery of grassroots football. It just shows you that it's so heavily disrespected.
That's an excellent fact, and thank you for that. We won't name drop on here, but I really appreciate that. So obviously congratulations to the women. It is obviously a huge thing for the women's football, and rightfully so. Just to quickly do a shameless plug before we go. Obviously the interview this morning, Jamie Keane and Jonathan Schrager, excellent stuff. He really gave us some good info on that, so please go and have a look at that. We'll be doing some more shows over the next few days. Billy here, thanks for tuning in, buddy, as well. Good to see a new face. Lovely to have you on here. I'm in a hotel in Milton Keynes where the French women's team is staying. Security was mad on the way in. There you go. Try and get some autographs if you can. So obviously if any more news comes out in the next couple of days, we will try and do another show, obviously more with Ronaldo. If anything more comes out, I was expecting a bit more today after all the hoo-ha this morning, but not to be. And we'll obviously, if anything materialises for Frankie, we'll be back for that. We should be having a Talk of the League podcast tomorrow night. Not 100% sure on that, but I think you might see your man Stu again tomorrow. But we'll give more details tomorrow. But listen, everyone in the comments, thank you very much for tonight. Boys, thank you as always. Great stuff, all three of you, and I really appreciate that. We'll see you next time.